Welcome back to Brain Muffin at the Movies. And I was preparing to do a pop culture minute video, and I came across something that I got to do a little slightly longer form, and hopefully I can keep everybody's attention. I've previously covered the petition that was set out. This is an article about it. And this was a petition. There's a couple of them. There's one that just sounds like a bunch of whiny fanboys, but this one caught my attention because it's to replace Brie Larson as Captain Marvel with a gay woman of color, not transgendered, interestingly enough, but which is because they're talking about LGBTQ, all that stuff. LGBTQ, isn't it two Qs? Anyway. And how she's an ally for social justice and all this. And I agree with, say, this even says who started Valentine. So this guy, someone named Valentine. Did I skip over that part already? As by ridiculous unwarranted notion, the petition has already amassed 9,000 signatures. So at first, when I looked at this, it had some signatures, and it was like, okay, this will probably just kind of go and die, and that'll be it. But apparently now, it's over 14,000 and just 500 away from its goal of 15,000. Spike Valentine, there it is, calls for Russia to step down as Carol Danvers, so that a gay woman of color. Now, what's screwy here is it can't be a woman of color who's going to pretend to be gay. The actress has to be gay. Now, what I do like about this petition is the Monica Rambeau angle. She was the first Captain Marvel female in the comics, and we do have a Monica Rambeau in the Captain Marvel movie, in that it's her friend's daughter who's named Monica. And now it's 25 years later. She'd be, I guess, mid-30s. I don't know exactly how old the young lady who's playing her is supposed to be. I mean, obviously she's like 14 or 15. 25 years later she'd be 40. But so there's an interesting possibility here where Captain Marvel could lose as, Carol Danvers. I did too. So I heard so many people call her Carl Manvers or Carl Danvers. So, Carol Danvers, or as, what does EVS say? Pan Marvel. And it would be an interesting transition, especially now that Disney has the X-Men through the Fox acquisition. We could have eventually down the road, we could get a movie where Rogue steals her powers in some way, either puts her in her coma or whatever, and Monica, either gets the powers or maybe Carol goes into a coma, Monica brings her out, but she still loses her powers. There's several different ways they could do some kind of transition. But to me, this just speaks of where the SJW, when they start eating their own here, no matter what you do, there's always someone who complains about it. There's always someone who makes a fuss. And 14,500 people, that's no, laughing matter in some ways, because that's enough people to really kind of get attention. I mean, here's an article. This is coming from WeGotThisCovered.com, and this is what they're talking about. And then over here, this is the one that first got my attention when I was looking for some things to cover in the Pop Culture Minute. And this is, again, backlash. I don't really think it's troll backlash. The trolls are the ones, because I think this is about the same, vilified by some extreme fan. I wouldn't call them extreme. They're just fans of the MCU. They just had their expectations, I guess. Bring more seats up to table. No one is getting their chair taken away. The efforts are rain on her parade on the. But you know what? The Captain Marvel movie is the only one where we had all kinds of shenanigans being reported about tickets being, we had pre-sales and people not showing up. And interestingly enough, there were multiple reports from people who worked in theaters who said it was exactly 25 seats in every showing. And there'd be, 5 or 6 showings in multiple theaters. So you're probably talking somewhere between 20 to 35 showings a day, depending on the theater. And then to top it off, Disney, and I think there were some theaters that had some exceptions to this who didn't have the capacity, but Disney made a lot of theaters keep showing Captain Marvel when Endgame came out. If you wanted to show Endgame, you have to show Captain Marvel somewhere, and there was a requirement for how many showings a day and stuff like that, even though by then the sales had dropped off drastically, and it probably should have been headed towards second-run theaters. But this is, we didn't have this nonsense for Wonder Woman. The only hubbub we had about Wonder Woman was a place in Texas that wanted to hold an all-female only showing of Wonder Woman, and then that got shut down by the courts. And that was it. So you had, and that was on their own, right? Warner Brothers didn't come in and say, "Hey, you got to push this movie because of a women's agenda." And we can argue all day long whether Wonder Woman was good. What pissed me off about the Wonder Woman movie is she wasn't even the hero of the movie. The man, Steve Trevor, was the hero. He's the one that made the heroic sacrifice. He's the one that went from being a womanizing, selfish spy, kind of James Bond-esque spy, to caring, willing to sacrifice himself, and actually fell in love with Wonder Woman, which was something that, she was a fish out of water and was changing too. But the heroic path was really Steve Trevor, and that still irritates me. So plus I think they could have done some way, but I mean, as far as the WB movies, that was the Warner, as far as the DCEU, it was the best one that they had. I haven't seen Aquaman, so I don't know. So Transparent Network grossed. The Transparent campaign didn't work. Some people, but see, there's a lot of shenanigans in these numbers, and the truth is starting to come out. And when we get Disney's fiscal information for next year, we will be able to know exactly how much did they spend. Now, obviously, they didn't spend $1 billion, but I bet you they spent $100 million of their marketing budget went to buying tickets to make it look like it was popular. So people, plus where they put it between two movies, Infinity War and Endgame. It was shoehorned in. It wasn't standing on its own. So there's a lot of asterisk to anything that the Captain Marvel movie did. Let Monica, the original female and black Captain Marvel, instead of whitewashing characters for the benefit of the straight white men running Disney. So this is the same kind of thing. This is about the same petition, I believe, and there's Q+. But it's not whitewashed. She was turned back into, as Miss Marvel, she was a white woman for several runs, and she's been a white woman for multiple runs as Captain Marvel in the most recent comics, and who knows, she might get rebooted yet again. The comics, they cannot sell. They can sell the first issue because it's a 1, 2 because there's curiosity. By the time they get to the third or fourth issue of a run, the story is so bad that people aren't buying it, and they can't give them away, literally. And so I find these things interesting because it's not, hey, we think Brie Larson is a horrible person in these petitions, right? These aren't a bunch of old white men who can't handle she's semi-attractive, I guess, a young woman, all of the cliche nonsense that you would normally expect with this. I think it's like the Black Panther backlash that I thought was completely astroturf. I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. Just based on the things that they were claiming. I'm a lesbian, absolutely love Brie Larson to see him. Why not create another superhero? Petition doesn't guarantee. I know that. She is dull. Yeah, she is dull. But, I know some people who have seen her in Room, and they say it's a very good movie. It's very different. It's a very good movie. She does a very good job in it, and she deserved her Oscar. I hadn't really heard of her until she was cast as Captain Marvel. But, I'm too old for it to know she sang and all that other stuff. But the other thing is, if you compare her video, her being Brie Larson's video with Elizabeth Olsen on the Google search stuff, it's a night and day. Elizabeth is just so refreshing and joyful and appreciative, and then Brie is just kind of ornery and takes everything as an offense. Keep your husband all female only moves to yourself. Keep your shut. But I think this is great. Now, from a free speech standpoint, I really, I'm going to applaud that this person, Spike, and all these supporters who have signed this petition, that they're wanting to voice their thing. What I don't mind this petition, and I wouldn't mind if at some point they, like I said, maybe Monica does grow up to be gay, and Captain Marvel transfer her powers, and we get a Monica Rambeau on the big screen from the comics of the 80s. Obviously updated, that's 30 plus years ago. They'd have to update some of the themes, but let's say the character itself is very similar, other than maybe being made gay. I don't mind people having what I do mind is if they then go and pressure all of the sponsors, and like they do with the conservatives when they're trying to shut down people, and they go after the the payment processors, and, go after people's livelihoods and all that other stuff, and start doxing one another to get change. That crosses the line. But no, voice your opinion, and maybe, and the thing is you probably need to support Captain Marvel 2. Captain Marvel 2 will not have two big movies that it can be shoehorned against. And Disney probably can't get away with the shenanigans a second time. But go and support these, and go when Black Panther 2 comes out, go and support it. Don't complain that he's not gay or trans or whatever. And, that's how other movies get made. Start voicing an opinion of, hey, let's have a sidebar adventure with some of the women from Wakanda. Maybe we should have a movie that's Captain Marvel and Scarlet Witch and maybe somebody else. Well, Black Widow's gone, but what's her name? I'm completely blanking on the names. People are so irritated by when I got those names wrong that I'm hesitant to say. Pepper Potts, maybe as in her version of the Iron Man suit. They go off and have an adventure together somewhere. Maybe it's in space, and maybe some of the women from Guardians of the Galaxy pick them up, and they have a girls' night out that turns into crap, and they have to, celebrating something, and they're gonna do something, whatever. I mean, you could make it a stereo, like a all girls, girls night out type movie if you want, something like that. It could be just an adventure, maybe, and you don't necessarily have them save the guys. Maybe they just have their own adventure. Maybe they stumble across somebody in the universe that's plotting something very evil, and they overcome it and they figure out what to do. Maybe something along the lines of Thor Ragnarok. At the beginning, that first half of that movie where he's been captured and things like that. I think that would work. And there are a lot of guys that would see these movies. If you're not crapping on, don't make Captain America bad or Thor horrible just to elevate a female character. Make that female character very strong and good, and people will come out for it. So, and I don't mean good as in they're they have to be the good guy. They could be the bad guy, bad person in the movie. Just make them strong and believe, a well-written character is what we're asking for. So this is another one with it. I didn't see, so we don't have very many comments. Who cares about gay? I just think, because the thing is on the flip side of all that, obviously they kowtow to this. Then there'll be another petition where someone needs to be handicapped and transgendered and something else. And it's just like, well, we'll get to, and there are characters they've done that with, even in DC universe. In the comics, and it's been very mixed results, but a lot of it gets down to the writing. And we've had characters in the past who have had problems, handicapped, let's say blind or in a wheelchair. And there was one back in the 80s. I remember a superhero show. I cannot remember the name of it. It was very early. It didn't do well. It was really poorly written. But this guy I remember him, he was in a wheelchair, and then he got this bionic thing, like this, almost like a Iron Man type suit. And then he was, super strong and all that stuff. I wish I could remember the name of it. But anyway, I just think this is funny in a watching a train wreck kind of way. But this is, I'll support I may not agree with what they're saying, but I'll support their right to say it. Definitely. But let's keep it like this. Let's keep it civil. Let's have some discussion. Should it be Monica Rambeau? Should it be, there's been several different versions of Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel, and we've got Kamala Khan coming down the pike, and we've got Squirrel Girl. Should we take two or three really lesser known characters in the Marvel universe that are female that failed, or maybe were male, and change them around, do the gender swap, maybe make one of them a trans, something like that, so that this group is satisfied, but then still make it a well-written character. Give them some depth. Give them some struggle. Make them overcome obstacles. Make them have some believability. I mean, obviously, we don't have people that fly around, and we don't have all these superpowers in our world, so we have a level of suspension of disbelief. But if you make these characters believable in the world they're in, and believe that these are real people with real struggles and problems, as well as the superhero aspect, I think they'll do well. Now granted, there'll be some people that'll complain that they're gay and all that. That's fine. They're allowed to say that, and just don't go see the movie. But don't start, whoever directs that movie, don't find out where they live and post it all over the internet and say, hey, let's all meet out at this person's house and let's harass them because they made a movie we don't like. That is complete and utter bollocks. So Anyway, so here we have. So what do you think about this? Do you think the petition guy is nuts? Do you think? Well, I'm assuming it's a guy. Yep, they say call him he. I think from time to time. But anyway, Spike Valentine, whomever they are. Do you think these people are crazy? They're almost 15,000 signatures, probably close to that, closer to that now. Do you think they have a reason to be complaining, or is it let's just let Phase 4 play out and see where we go and see if we don't get some other versions of the Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel universe? Maybe we'll get multiples. Maybe we'll get the split, with the Spider-Man stuff. It looks like we might get a multiverse. So we could have, that's the other side of this if the multiverse actually is a thing in Marvel with the fracturing with the snap and everything, maybe we get the alternate Captain America from an Earth where Monica is the one who is taken or gets the power somehow or has them transferred from Carol. Let's say Carol comes and visits and fails, transfers her powers to Monica Rambeau, who grows up to on a world infested with Skrulls, and then does something to save the day when she's older, or maybe she is older, whatever. That would be interesting. You could have two Captain Americas in the movie. You could have Monica and you could have Carol fighting together from different Earths to try and repair the damage from the snap. That's another take here that we could do if the multiverse is real and it's just not a bunch of hoo-ah. That's not Modesto just pulling everybody's leg, basically, and pulling the wool and lying about it is what I'm trying to get to, which would be keeping with his character. But maybe it's real, and if it's real, and then we have all kinds of possibilities. We could get every incarnation of Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel, including the original Marvel and the guy who played it, that failed decades ago. And who knows? Maybe we get an all Captain Marvel team up that is every incarnation of Captain Marvel, and throw Miss Marvel in there too, from a dozen Earths or something that have to fight an incredible foe together and have to combine their powers and something like that. So, that's a lot of possibility, and that type of thing I wouldn't mind whatsoever. But just for the sake of inclusion, make it good first. And a lot of people won't care. And this is like Avery Brooks' answer when someone asked him what it was like playing a black captain. He's like, you can't play black. He's just the character, and he happens to be black, and that's it. So you still have to have a well-written character, period. And let's not forget that. Let's start with well-written characters and then worry about the rest of this later. All right. Thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks for clicking like. Thanks so much for the subscription. This is new subscribers. I appreciate everybody. Appreciate all the comments, even when you guys are ripping me a new one for mispronouncing names continuously. And I deserved it. And I swear, get me to 5,000 subs, and I will apologize for that video. I promise. All right. Thank you very much, and we'll see you. Goodbye. All right, it's going to get, yeah, I know. I don't know. And yeah, I think part of it, this Mac's just getting too old. And I don't know why it started doing this recently, but yeah, it's very annoying. And it also plays my input, even when I don't want it to. All right, let's do this. 3, 2, and 1.